Hello and welcome to Starting Points, where one thing leads to another. This is video number 184, Everest and exploring. This book is the book that had given me some ideas about what it was like for the ascent of Mount Everest. It's called Mountain Conquest. Interesting, some of the words almost seem like it's a battle, and in a way it is a battle of endurance and a towering challenge. It's another thing that could refer to it. Here is a photograph of the Sherpa called Tenzing standing at the summit of Mount Everest. The book's not all about Mount Everest. It's about mountain climbing. But it starts with that, and with that New Zealander who they have mountains in the South Island, lots of mountains, some that keep their snow. This book was put together in part by the editors of Horizon magazine and published by the American Heritage Publishing Company. And I've shared in the past some of those books. They just, the care with which the books were put together strikes me as wonderful. The author is Eric Shipton. Now, it turns out that Eric Shipton had done a lot of climbing himself. He was involved in the organization at the camps for this attempt to reach the top of Mount Everest. I have a few other pictures here. Of course, you sometimes had ropes tying you. Some of the earlier pictures in here show people carrying ladders they could put over a crevasse and then climb, whole sort of maybe lying down and climbing across. So they've got a certain kind of climbing axe, and so that amazing picture that was taken by Edmund Hillary. Here's the home of the gods, and there's Mount Everest. These slopes are not covered with snow. It must be some point in when it's not winter. And I remember this is all vegetation in here, in this valley and all. So there's another picture. I got a couple of more pictures I want to show you. Here is in full high altitude equipment, Hillary left, and Tenzing approach a tiny ledge where they camped before making the final assault on the summit. Now, I always wondered about, here you've got not only this extra weight, but it creates a sort of a hump. And I think it might interfere with you regaining your balance if you were to lose your balance, or if you're reaching forward, this is going to sort of clunk. I don't know, but it was essential equipment to have, and they're dressed pretty warmly. On May 5th, when we had at last succeeded in completing the route to the North Col, we received a message from our base camp saying that the monsoon had already broken in Calcutta and was spreading rapidly over the foothills of the Himalayas. This news was deeply disturbing. Everything depended upon our getting at least a brief spell of calm, fine weather before the heavy monsoon snow began to fall on the mountain, making those smooth, overlapping slabs below the summit impossible to climb. We had not expected the monsoon to arrive for at least another 3 weeks. Now it seemed it was almost upon us, and still the westerly gales continued to rage, preventing our advance. Well, we can't control the weather, and all of that made me feel glad that I'm an armchair traveler. And the books allow me to go to some place that halfway around the world, and in the history. And I can go way back even to ancient times. The Librarian Who Measured the Earth by Catherine Lasky. This is a great book. I did show it earlier in a different context, and it's just the story of a young man's life and growing up and following his interests, and being able to use the angle that he found and do the math that involved getting this accurate measurement of the Earth. I can go up to the Arctic and see the midnight sun in its journey in 24 hours, compressed into these 24 photographs shot at the same time each hour. And they're put together with the sun's already high up, and it ascends and then down and almost gets to the horizon level, and then it starts back up. That's what the midnight sun refers to. Even at midnight, it's above the horizon. And that reminds me of this book that I recently got. This is Alan Abel. He's traveled from 1990 to the year 2000, Explorations and Misadventures on 6 Continents. The title's called Abel's Outback. He's Australian. No, that's not the size of a koala bear. It's a little playing with photography. In fact, that brings up to mind, in climbing Mount Everest, Edmund didn't want his photograph taken at the summit. He took the photograph of Tenzing, but so I don't know. Inuvik taxi drivers, Northwest Territories. Now the Northwest Territories are referring to a large area, land area, that's north of British Columbia, north of Alberta, and that is bordered on the west by Alaska. And it's not too, it's fairly sparsely populated. Way up north, where the midnight sky is painted pink and gold, the first resident a lonesome traveler meets is a brown man from the Blue Nile. Ahmed Iman drives a car number 24, a well-worn Crown Victoria for the United Taxi Company, in a town that may have more cabs per capita than any other metropolis this side of Manhattan. He has spent the past 8 years north of the Arctic Circle, motoring up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down Mackenzie Road. This Mackenzie River runs right by Inuvik, supporting a bride and a baby son, and utterly befuddling his Sudanese kinfolk back in frost-free Khartoum. When you phone home, what do you tell them about Inuvik? I asked Mr. Irmon, as he imports me from the air terminal along the only 10 kilometers of paved highway in the entire Northwest Territories. I don't tell them anything, he replies. They don't believe the midnight sun. They don't believe the driving on the river in the winter. They don't believe 2 months of darkness. They don't believe 45 below zero. So I stopped telling them. Well, there's belief and there's disbelief. And sometimes you have to see it with your own eyes. Sometimes you can trust something you read in a book. Well, until next time, bye for now.